Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this live talk. Okay, welcome to this live talk on intuitive womb healing. And I'm so excited to talk to you today. I feel like it's been a while since I've actually been on live and had a chance to just share with you, yeah, what's happening in the world of Raven and what's happening in my womb healing journey. So, if you are subscribed, you'll be able to, if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll be able to leave comments. So, if you can't hear me or if something is wrong, please let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to try and fix things that way. So, today is all about intuitive womb healing. And again, the reason I'm doing this talk is because I have seen some pretty big changes for myself recently. And for those of you who don't know me, I am a menstrual health herbalist, I am a combo practitioner. I have gone all around the world learning about womb healing because when I was about 16 years old, I started having really, really painful periods. And I had really no idea how to help myself. I was on birth control for 7 years and switched to a few different pills, had a horrible experience with birth control, and got to the point where I had to figure it out myself and got off birth control because it actually almost caused me to have kidney failure and all of these other horrible things. So yeah, I took my own journey of womb healing, and that took me down the path of studying women's herbalism and ethnobotany, going to the Yucatan to study womb massage with midwife Dona Maria, studying spiritual healing, doing ancestral work, going to Peru and living in the jungle for a month to study kambo and learning how to practice kambo for myself and for others, and starting my own herbal practice and helping other people with their periods. And over the years, I saw huge transformations and change with my periods and got so much better. And in the past, I would say about a year and a half, things started to get bad for me again. And so it was like this whole journey again of trying to figure it out and what do I do? And so that's why I wanted to do this talk, because I've learned a lot in the past year, and I wanted to share that with you. So let me just check and make sure everything is looking good on here. It looks like it is. Okay. So let's see. Back to my history and what's coming up for me lately. So I would say about 3 or 4 months ago, I just had this major discovery of what was causing my periods to get worse after so many years of seeing improvements and things like that. And that's what I want to share with you today. So, this is really a talk about finding your own way. And I want you to keep that in mind as you are listening and as you are taking in the stories that I'm going to share with you. Because while I have learned a lot and I'm going to share with you some things that you could try for yourself, that's not the point. The point is so that you can learn to find your own way in healing through just hearing my story, and also me sharing some practices with you that you can work with for your own intuitive womb healing journey. So, um, intuition is the biggest thing that has helped me in my journey of womb healing. Without my intuitive insights and intuitive and just trusting my own intuition, I don't know how I would have gotten this far, because the things that I've discovered in my womb healing journey have not been things that you can really read about in books or anything like that. So, intuition is key, and there are so many ways that we are pulled away from our intuition. And it's important to recognize that and to start to lean into trusting your intuition again. And it doesn't matter like what path you take in your womb healing, whether it's medical, natural, whatever. Intuition is what can guide you towards meeting the right practitioners. It can guide you towards the right herbs, just the right procedures and whatever it is that you need, your intuition can guide you to the right things for you. And so it's really important to restore that intuition and that intuitive strength, because it is a lot like a muscle. And there are so many ways that when we're young, we're told to basically ignore our intuition. And I did a whole video on this. That's a guide to intuitive eating. I definitely suggest checking that out. It's on YouTube. But intuition is going to help guide you. So right now, go ahead and just take a deep breath. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes. This is just going to be a really simple exercise to just a little recall of what it's like to connect to your intuition. So take a deep breath and think of a time when you got an intuitive insight, but you decided not to listen to it. What did that feel like for you? And now think of a time when you got an intuitive insight and you decided to listen to it. What was that experience like? And then thinking on these intuitive insights that you've received, what are the kinds of things that you learn, or what are the ways that your intuition speaks to you? Does it speak to you through your body? Does it speak to you through just having a knowing in your mind? Does it speak to you through maybe patterns or things that you see in your outside world, or maybe things that you receive in your dreams? What are the ways that your intuition speaks to you? So keep those things in mind. You can write them down if you'd like. And I'm asking you this question now, but this is something that you can continue to ask yourself and to explore beyond this moment, and just really start to notice when your body is trying to share something with you. And I'll share a little bit more about some practices that you can do to kind of discern between your intuitive insights and then your mind trying to override things. So before we get there, though, I want to kind of walk you through what actually got me to the point of wanting to share this information with you. So, like I mentioned, I was getting better with my womb healing and with my periods, and reducing period pain. I used to have about 10 days of pain a month where I had to take painkillers in order to just be able to think, to be able to move. So I went from 10 days of pain down to 1 day of taking ibuprofen. And that was a huge accomplishment for me. And then, in I would say the past year and a half, things started to really deteriorate again. And during that time, I was kind of picking up on a lot of other things and just trying to be aware of what my body was trying to tell me. So during that time, I noticed that I stopped eating a few foods. One food that I kind of got this intuitive insight about was oils. And it was about a year ago that I was like, okay, chronic pain and chronic illness is an indicator to me that I'm putting something into my body, or there's some kind of chronic toxicity. So something is going into my body that I need to be aware of and let go of in order to address this chronic issue. So, what is it that's in my diet or in my world or in my experience that I'm doing all the time? And I kept asking that question. I would say I was asking that question for a solid 3 or 4 weeks before I had this intuitive insight that, I don't know, maybe I was standing by the window looking at the stove, and I was like, huh, the one thing that I haven't ever taken out of my diet is oil. And that's one thing that has been a part of my diet for many years, for as long as I can remember. So, and my period pain, or the period pain that I had, started. so long ago that I don't remember. There was never a time where I was completely oil free. So I said, let me try that. So I went oil free, and that was extremely helpful. Within about a week, I lost 8 pounds just from inflammation. I reduced pain significantly, and I was feeling a little bit better. And then a few months went by, and I was like, you know what? Things are getting worse again. And I started to think about the foods that I had eliminated because of oils, things that I had eaten with oils. So um, that one of the big ones was animal, so meat and also eggs. And I was like, I'm curious about trying meat again because I've eliminated so many things from my diet, and I feel depleted, and I know that my body is asking for more. So I reintroduced lamb into my diet, and I felt so good. I felt so nourished, and I just would eat it for a few days out of the month. But also during that time, I noticed that I was starting to eliminate foods naturally. It wasn't something that I consciously thought of, but I stopped eating spinach, and I stopped eating a few other foods. And as I started to get worse and worse periods through the fall of last year, I started to just ask the question, like, what are the common threads here? And I started to do my own self-assessment. And this is another thing that I wanted to share with you is this concept of doing your own self-assessment and really looking at all the things that could be coming up for you throughout your period, or throughout your cycle, I should say, including your period days. So those things are, for me, I noticed that when I was actually menstruating, I didn't have menstrual pain. I more so had full body pain and lower back pain. I noticed that in other times I had ringing in my ears. I noticed that I had ridges on my nails. And I started paying attention to all these little things and started compiling all these things to do my own self assessment. And I also looked at foods that I had eliminated over the years, things like Swiss chard, cashews, yucca. And I just put all of these things down on paper and um, ask questions like, what's the common thread here? And I started doing a lot of research through traditional Chinese medicine and kind of connecting some of the dots on the foods that I had eliminated and the symptoms I was experiencing, and that being connected to my kidneys. So I took this information to my acupuncturist, and that was kind of the focus that we were going, the path that we kind of took to support my body. And then I had this really horrible period. It was awful. And for some reason, I decided to open up this email from this woman, Paola, the crazy ozone lady who has a YouTube channel. And because I had started doing ozone therapy for myself, which I'll talk about later. And I read this email and I was like, you know what, let me just see what she has to say. She was talking about a carnivore diet. And I was like, I'm so over diets. I had tried so many diets, and I was just like, I don't want to hear about another diet. But I opened it and I listened to what she had to say. And she had this woman on, Sally K. Norton, who talked about oxalates. And oxalates are basically crystals that are in plants they're plant defenses. All plants have their own defenses. And this is something that I've learned through herbalism, and knowing that you have to be careful about dosing with plants. As an herbalist, you can't just, go and take a bunch of this tincture of this plant because you could hurt someone or you could hurt yourself. So knowing that, I know that plants have their defenses. So when I started hearing about this information about oxalates and how common vegetables that we have in the grocery store are these plants that are really high in oxalates. So I compared that to the list of things that I had naturally eliminated over the years: the yucca, Swiss chard, cashews, spinach. And spinach I eliminated, I would say, back in October of last year. For some reason, I just decided to stop eating it. It wasn't anything that I thought of, or there wasn't any like trigger for that. I just went to the store, and when I looked at the spinach, I was like, no. And I kept walking. And there was one time I went back and I was like, maybe I should. And that thought in my mind, maybe I should, told me that, why should I? That was a question I asked. Like, why should I? Who says that I should? My body says no, so I'm just not going to eat it. And I stopped eating it. And so when I heard Sally talking about these oxalates, I was like, wow, this is really powerful. All the symptoms that I had written down when I wrote down that symptom list, all of those were oxalate dumping systems. So basically, when you have a lot of oxalates in your body will try and find places to store it. And so I noticed that those same oxalate dumping symptoms are what I was experiencing during my period. And it wasn't so much that I was having extreme menstrual pain, although I did have some. It was more so this full body just discomfort and pain, and it was kind of hard to identify where the pain was coming from. It was just an overwhelming sensation of pain. And I also noticed that a lot of some of the oxalate symptoms, like lower back pain or pain in your kidneys, which is really common because when your body is dumping oxalates, it's extremely straining. It really strains your kidneys. And another thing that was a really big connection was that I was having ringing in my ears, and ringing in your ears is connected to the kidneys in traditional Chinese medicine. So, and then it was also a really common oxalate dumping symptom. So all of these things kind of crystallized at this time when I was watching this video about oxalates from Sally Norton. And from there, I decided to try a low oxalate diet. And you have to do a slow transition to low oxalates because when your body doesn't have enough oxalates in your diet, it will try to release a lot of them really quickly, which can be really taxing on your kidneys and really difficult for your body. It feels awful. That's where you get the pain where you're actually throwing up and all of those things, which is what I noticed during my periods. I was having that pain where I was throwing up. I was having digestive issues. I was having ringing in my ears. I was having kidney pain, all of these things that were connected to oxalates. And what I have gathered from my research and from my experiences and from talking to people that I've worked with in my business, my clients, is that when we are when our periods start, this is a time when our body is letting go of what we don't need to carry anymore. So naturally, what I have the conclusion that I have come to, this is not something that you're going to find in scientific studies or anything like that, but the conclusion that I have come to is that during my period, my body says, okay, it's time to dump oxalates. It's time to clear. Blood is being released, emotions are being released, and the body is trying to get rid of a lot of different things. So this is a really powerful time when your body is, again, releasing. And so that release of oxalates can be really intense. And that overlap between menstruation and oxalate dumping is where there's a lot of just overlap between the common symptoms of endometriosis and the common symptoms of oxalate dumping. And while may not be the case for everyone, this has definitely been the case for me because since going low oxalate, I have seen a tremendous reduction in the amount of ibuprofen I have to take with my periods. I just feel better. I start my periods not feeling super foggy. I don't have any premenstrual pain. All of these changes have happened through switching to a low oxalate diet and also incorporating things like ozone, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, that was the main thing that I wanted to share with you about my diet and the diet changes because this is not something that's talked about. It's not common. And I have done so much research over so many years and just learned through my own experience, learned through helping clients. I've helped so many people restore balance to their periods. And there have been a few people along the way that have been like me, where you've tried everything. You've done the diet, you've done lifestyle changes, you've done ancestor work, you've done therapy, you've done so many things, but then there's still something that's hanging on that's causing pain. And for me, it's been this discovery of oxalates and these powerful plant defenses. They're crystals that plants use to protect themselves, and it makes sense because the other thing that really struck me about kind of having a low oxalate diet is that when I think about our ancestors and how they ate seasonally, it's not common to eat high oxalate foods all year long. So it's not common to eat spinach, which is extremely high in oxalates. I was buying a pound of spinach and eating that in a week. And like 6 leaves of spinach is like way more oxalates than you could ever need in a month. So having all of that in a span of a week was putting so much plant toxins into my body. And thinking about it in a more ancestral sense, like our ancestors weren't eating a pound of spinach every week through all the seasons. So, just thinking about eating naturally is what really has helped me to kind of wrap my mind around how I'm proceeding with my diet. And it does take about 10 years for your body to completely clear oxalates, because once your body runs out of places to store them from, like the womb space, or basically oxalates can get stored in anywhere you have injuries. And that immediately struck me because I used to have an IUD, and IUDs, copper IUDs, it doesn't matter what, if it's copper or non hormonal or non hormonal, it's causing injury to your cervix. So that to me was really striking, because oxalates will go wherever there is injury or wherever there's weakness in the body. So um, ancestrally, because they weren't eating these high oxalate foods all year long, there would be seasons where they're maybe eating more animal foods or something like that, or where they have this opportunity to allow their body to release oxalates, rather than constantly inundating the body with all these high oxalate foods all year long. So for me right now, I'm on the journey of just staying with low oxalate and supporting my body in releasing them slowly, so that I don't have to experience the extreme pain that comes with releasing oxalates. So that was a really big thing that I wanted to share. And it's been on my mind to share with you for a while, because I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in the few clients that I've had a chance to talk to about this, that they've seen really big changes as well. And I thought this is really important information to share. And it's not something that you can find a lot of places. I just don't really know very many people who have had this much work and time invested into healing period pain, endometriosis, and womb healing. So I wanted to share this with you. And the other thing that I wanted to share was about ozone. In Egypt, your cycle started today. How do you release oxalates besides seasonal eating? Yeah, so a low oxalate diet will help you to release oxalates from your body. And a low oxalate diet for me, like for example, today, I haven't really eaten. I've noticed that kind of switching to a low oxalate diet, I don't eat as much because the food that I'm eating is so high quality. So, for example, I just had a little bit of white rice with lamb and pumpkin and purple cabbage. And so, the lamb, any animal, like animal products, I stick to free range and organic as much as possible. That's pretty much all the meat that I eat is free range and organic. That's really important, because conventional meat does have a lot of hormones, and that's not going to be helpful for hormonal balance and healthy periods. But basically, a low oxalate diet can help you to release oxalates from your body. Now, the thing about a low oxalate diet is that you want to transition to it slowly, because if you suddenly go low oxalate, your body will start to release oxalates really quickly, and that can be really, really painful. And you just don't need that kind of stress on your body. So I actually I went a little bit too far with going low oxalate, and I wasn't having enough in my diet in order to have that slow release. And I started to get really bad pain just away from my period. And this is another reason why I knew it was oxalates, because it wasn't only happening during my period, it was just most intense during my period. So I noticed that I was having pain, and if you eat a little bit of a high oxalate food, then that can help to slow down that oxalate release. And so for me, that's just a little piece of dark chocolate, and I also use ozonated water, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But that's how you can help your body to release oxalates, is just to do transition slowly to a low oxalate diet. And Sally K. Norton is someone who has a lot of information about oxalates. And there's also someone else. After this live stream, I will post that information in the description for this video. But there's another person that I found that has a whole guidebook on low oxalate foods and recipes and all those things. And it's a really great resource that I've been using a lot. So that's about oxalates. And yeah, and again, the reason I share this with you is twofold. One, because oxalates could be an issue for you if you had long term period and menstrual pain issues, but also just that intuition piece. And the thing that got me to this point of even having this awareness about oxalates was trusting my body and listening to my body and noticing the foods that I had naturally eliminated without even knowing about oxalates, and being able to make those connections once I did learn about it, and being able to find my own way. And I want you to know that, because this womb healing journey is truly about finding your own way, and your intuition is going to help you get there. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to share was about ozone and ozone therapy. So ozone is a practice. Ozone is basically it's a gas. It's 3 oxygen atoms, and it's been used for over a century now. A lot of doctors use it. It's not like super common. You don't really hear about it that often, but ozone is really, really powerful. And I started using ozone because I wanted to clear my body of toxicity. And I also knew that I had a parasite issue to deal with. And parasites are actually pretty common. Um, when my mom was growing up, she talks about how in Jamaica, every year they would do a washout, and basically they would drink this herbal tea blend, and it would help to clear parasites from the body. And it was just something that they did every year. And this is something that a lot of our ancestors did. They naturally would turn to these really strong and powerful plants to help clear their body of parasites. And do that periodically. So I wanted to do that for myself, and ozone was really helpful for that. I started with doing ozone sauna, which is something I talked about in my sauna video. But basically, you get into this machine, this like capsule, and it is a sauna for your body, and it goes up to your neck, and then you sit in there, and the capsule closes, and then someone puts a towel around so that way, when the ozone is started and the ozone gas goes in, you don't have to inhale the ozone. You don't want to inhale ozone. And that was one way to work with ozone. And I loved it. I felt so clear. I slept so well. I noticed all the common symptoms of parasite releasing, which I knew about because of my work with Combo, because Combo is really powerful for releasing parasites from the body. And that was really great because it's so much gentler than Combo, but it's just as effective when it comes to releasing toxins and releasing parasites. And it's also very affordable, and it's something that you can usually find like a place that does ozone sauna in any major city. So it helps to reduce infections. It helps to clear any kind of infections from viral to bacterial, helps to clear parasites, helps to reduce inflammation, helps to support the blood, helps to, let's see what else. I wrote some notes here. Helps to stimulate cellular energy production, which was really important when thinking about when thinking about adhesions. And this, I had to do a lot of digging and a lot of research to find people talking about how they used ozone to heal endometriosis. But it does help to support the body in like reactivating those tissues that are stuck so that you can start to clear them. And it's been amazing for me. So I mentioned ozone sauna, but you can actually also do ozone through you can do ozone through IV intravenously, which you go to a doctor to do that, or you can do it through rectal insufflation or vaginal insufflation. And basically that means that the ozone gas goes through a catheter, either rectally or vaginally. And if you have a period, then you get to the benefit of being able to do it vaginally, which is, it's so easy. You basically have your whole setup. You can go to someone to do this, and it's all set up, and then you just lay back, and you put the catheter in yourself, and then the ozone gas goes in vaginally, and that's it. It comes out the way it went in, and you get to have the benefit of clearing a lot of toxins and bacteria and just stuck stuff from the body. You get to clear that through ozone, and it has been so helpful for me. I've noticed that it just helps to reduce pain. It helps me to sleep better, and sleep is so important because when we're sleeping, we're healing. So, yeah, that was the other thing that I wanted to share with you about my healing process and what I've been up to lately and how it's transformed my cycles. Um, I can say that I have I could not see the next 10 years of my life about 6 months ago because things were getting so bad. And one of the things that I've learned through this process of discovering oxalates and working with kind of clearing those things from my body is that when we have a lot of toxins in the body, it really impacts our mental health. It really impacts how we view ourselves and how we view the world and what we can see, like the future that we can see for ourselves, because the changes that I've made have completely transformed my life. It's completely transformed how I interact with other people. It's completely transformed how I think about myself and my future. So I just really wanted to share all of this information with you because it's so important. And I don't want anyone to have to go through all these struggles with not knowing what to do when there is a path forward and there is so much that you can do. Besides the things that I've shared with you today, herbs are really helpful. Just trusting your intuition with finding your own diet is really helpful. Ancestral healing and ancestral work is also really helpful. And of course, other things like yoni steaming, that's been really helpful in my journey, womb massage. So definitely just check out my other videos. I have a lot of videos here. I haven't been doing things recently because I'm going through a lot of life changes, and I got a new job and I'm going to be moving. So my schedule is not really conducive to recording and editing and producing videos right now. But once I move, I'm so excited to start sharing with you again. Um, yeah, and Egypt, let me see. Thanks for sharing your examples. I do eat meat too. This is very interesting. Thank you very much. Sounds great. Love your videos. You're such a great resource. Thank you. Thank you, Egypt. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I just hope that this helps you and anyone who finds this video and who watches to find your own way to healing. Intuition is so important. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out. If you can't think of anything right now, you can leave a comment and I'll be able to answer it in the comments. But also keep up with me on Instagram, keep up with me here on YouTube. I will have some more videos coming out once I get moved. And I'm really excited to share just more about herbs and all the other things that I do in my life to stay balanced and vibrant and healthy. And just also I wanted to mention about Jupiter and Neptune. So we have this powerful Jupiter Neptune conjunction, and the reason I bring this up is because as someone with a menstrual cycle, as you probably know, our menstrual cycles are connected to nature, connected to the moon. And not only are our cycles connected to the moon, but we're connected to all of the planets in our solar system. And so Jupiter and Neptune can bring a lot of healing and a lot of blessings and help to expand our intuition. So this is a really powerful time to kind of set those intentions around expanding your intuition and deepening your intuitive practices. If you don't know what intuitive practices to turn to, this is the time to ask those questions and receive insights through your dreams, through day-to-day conversations, through um, just downloads that could come through. And one of the things that I will be doing a video on once I move is creating planetary altars. Planetary altars are basically spaces, sacred spaces where I can kind of um, express gratitude and kind of connect to different planetary energies in order to receive insight and guidance. And I found this to be really helpful in my journey and something that I wanted to share with you because again, I cannot tell you how important it is to be able to trust your intuition through this healing process. And no matter what path you take, your intuition is going to guide you to the right people, the right herbs, the right practices, and everything that you need to know for your own healing. And even just everything that I've shared with you today, all of the things that I've shared today have been things that came to me through my intuition. So Jupiter and Neptune are really giving us a great opportunity to expand our intuition. And just as a simple thing that you can do is to speak to those planets. Maybe when you sit down to do a meditation or something like that, speak to those planets and ask how you can expand your own intuition, and ask how you can connect with your body and receive intuitive insights from your body and your womb space and your menstrual cycle. So that's what I wanted to share with you about Jupiter and Neptune conjunction and how that plays into the womb healing journey, and just being able to tap into your intuition more. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Egypt. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you again soon. Okay, bye.